Greetings and welcome students. We are on lecture number 28 in your CBSE English Time Saver course with me, Ambika, your teacher. And in our last class, we took a look at advertisements, classified and commercial advertisements. In today's class, we are seeing another short answer type question in your exam, which is formal invitations and replies. So there are two types of invitations and replies in your syllabus. One is formal invitation and formal invitation and replies, and another is informal invitations and replies. Quite simple to do invitations and replies. I do not know why there is usually a lot of confusion about whether to make a card, whether to make a, whether to write a letter. I have not been able to understand why there is so much confusion, but if I can clarify some of your doubts in whatever I speak, via whatever I tell you, I would be happy. So first thing is that this is also short answer type, so 3 marks. You have to understand it as a 3-mark question, a short answer type question. You don't have to spend a lot of time or write a lot of words to get these 3 marks. So you have 50 words for it, which is the maximum word limit for it. You have to write an approximate answer. You have to write it approximately. You have to write 50 words approximately, and in my orientation lecture also I had explained it to you that they are not going to sit down, count your words. But every teacher usually has an idea when somebody is crossing the word limit massively. If you are writing 54 words instead of 50 or 49, it's fine. But if you are writing, say, 100 words instead of 50 or 80 words instead of 50, the teacher usually, because they get so much experience checking sheets, usually the teacher gets to know if you have massively crossed the word limit. So don't do that, not only from the marks point of view, but why would you not want to give, why would you not want to do equal justice to all the questions that are there in the exam? So in case you are spending more time on this 3-mark question, you might not have as much quality time to give to a 5-mark question in your writing section or in your literature section, or you might not have time to look at the reading section properly. So right to the point, like you do in notice, like you did in, like we had a look at, when we took a look at the advertisements, you saw that they had to be to the point. And even in advertisements, I was constantly telling you that you are paying to be included in a newspaper or a magazine or a billboard, whether it's a commercial advertisement or classified advertisement. So you have to write as crisply as possible in all of your answers, more so if it is something like this, because this is not even a literature question, this is a question from your writing section. I suggest you maintain the word limit even in literature, but in writing section it's easier for you because there are proper formats given to you that you have to write within those boundaries to score high, and also to complete the paper in a relaxed way. Otherwise you will be too agitated with having left no time to complete the other answers. So there are formal invitations and informal invitations, and in this particular class we are doing only formal invitations. We are not doing informal invitations today. So let's take a look at what are the basic rules of writing formal invitations. The main problem that I have had with students is in terms of understanding why are we even writing a reply to anyone or an invitation like this. You and I have received enough number of invitation cards since we were children. You are still, and a lot of people have started sending WhatsApp cards these days, email cards these days, email format cards these days. And everybody has a different, way of inviting you to their wedding or to their engagement. Save the date videos are very common on WhatsApp. That's a good way. But the conventional formal way of inviting a large number of people to any function is still a printed card. Don't see it only from the COVID perspective that we are inviting only 12 people to the wedding. This is a compulsion right now that so many people are not able to go to weddings and engagements or basic formal functions of the family, of the society, because COVID has changed our lives in some ways and we cannot meet in large numbers. But keep COVID aside here. Don't think about COVID, think about the normal life that we used to have before that, and then see the cards and letters that you are writing. So a basic question that everyone usually asks is that how do I know if I have to make a card or I have to write an invitation letter? So the thing is that whenever it is a large group of people being invited anywhere, to any function that's being held formally. Now you would say that, but a wedding is not, a wedding is for family and relatives and friends. Why are you calling it formal? No, a wedding function, an engagement function, irrespective of the fact that you are calling your relatives and friends to that function, it still qualifies by and large as a formal occasion. It's not an informal occasion. So if you have your daughter's wedding, you are supposed to make a card. If you are inviting all residents of the society to a cultural fest in the society that you're holding, you are writing a card, you are making a card, okay? If you are inviting just one person or just one couple, just one or two people in a formal capacity, then you can write a letter. So whenever it's a large group, you're making a card. Whenever it's just one or two people, but you're still doing it, if you are still throwing the, you're still sending the invite formally, you will write a formal invitation letter. Keep this in mind and take out all of the other crap that you know of this topic aside, because put it aside, because there is just too much confusion on this 3-mark topic, and I get really very agitated looking at wondering why you are so confused about it. I constantly get questions on invitations and replies from students, and I would never be able to understand why. If they give you specially in the question that you have to make an invitation card, even better. But sometimes they don't. They just give you the topic that you are inviting these many people, this is the occasion, the rest of the details you have to use your own basic logic, basic reasoning, that I am inviting so many people and I'm inviting them in a formal capacity, whether it is an engagement or a marriage party or anything, or it is the cultural fest, or it is the arts exhibition, or whatever. If you are inviting anybody, which is a large group, you're inviting a large group in formal capacity, you will make a card. When you are writing in formal capacity and inviting just one or two people, you will write a letter. So let's look at the basic rules also. The basic rules here are that you have to write in third person. You will have to maintain third person most of the time. But then, you would say, ma'am, in the card we are writing, we request your benign, or so and so request your benign presence. It is still very formal as a tone. So don't go by like strictly, okay, I have to stick to third person. Mostly 99.9% of the sentences would be written in third person. The language has to be clear. You are not, because you are writing in a very formal capacity, plus you have a very tight word limit of just 50 words. You do not have the option of going overboard in terms of your expression and vocabulary and sentence formation or anything. You have to write strictly what you are required to write. So if you have great writing skills, if you have great expression, if you have a desire to impress people with your opinions, please save them for article writing and for letter to the editor, for those kinds of questions, because strictly here they are asking you to do the job. They are asking you to do exactly what they want you to do within the word limit and following the basic rules. The language has to be clear, to the point, and formal. Lingo is not acceptable. Unfortunately, a lot of us write on social media a lot. and we WhatsApp also. So language is being influenced, we influence language all the time, but language, you know, is influencing us as well. So it's a give and take between us and language, and it's a nice thing. There is no problem in lingo, but here CBSE does not accept your lingo. Even if the teacher understands the lingo or the slang that you're using, they are going to deduct your marks because they want you to write proper English. Because if they let you, you know, score high writing that lingo, writing that those things that you write on WhatsApp, you will be, you know, you will not learn how to use language properly. And in the formal context, in the official context, people still want proper language, proper formal language. So this is your opportunity to learn and maintain that distance between your WhatsApp life, your Facebook life, and your Twitter life, where you can, you know, you write in the shortest possible way and convey a kind of swag and cool to the people who are reading it. Keep that for those things. In CBSE English paper, you will have to write in proper formal English, the official English. Lingo is not acceptable, and you have to enclose whatever you are writing in a box, like even like a card has to be within a box. If you are writing an invitation letter, also enclose it. That would be a better thing to do. Details pertaining to what, when, where, by whom, etc. must be included. If you are missing out on basic details regarding what is going to happen, what's the function, what time, what date, what's the venue, who's organizing, all of these are very important details. Please do not miss them. So let's take a look at I don't want to waste too much time, you know, going on about what kind of language you should be writing. You know exactly what I mean when I say it. So let's take a look at the questions. I'm jumping directly to questions to make sure that you understand it as an example instead of just theory. So on August 2, your school is going to hold its annual sports day. So you already know what it's given in the question, what's the occasion. The occasion is the annual sports day. The day is important to the school, annual function, annual sports day, annual cultural day. All of these are important days in any school. Usually schools require somebody who is a dignitary, who's a reputed person in the city in terms of his achievement. So usually at a sports day you would involve somebody you'll invite somebody who is reputed as a sports person in the city. You want to invite Mr. Jitesh Sethi. So the name of the person Jitesh Sethi is there, like the name of the person whom you are inviting is there. And what is his designation? This person is the Chief of Staff at Pinnacle Sports Club. So they've given you a lot of information. You are already getting the context of this question even without reading the rest of it, but still please you know, pay attention to the questions properly. Like a lot of us just read the first 2 lines of the question, start writing because we don't want to waste time. But please read the questions carefully till the end. Write a formal invitation card. See, this question has given this, has asked you has a very particular preference in terms of what you are doing as an answer. So they have given it to you that you write a formal invitation card and not a letter. So this is the requirement. So if they ask you like this, nothing better, because then you have a very clear idea about what you have to do. But the problem arises where, say, you know, suppose they had not written card here and they had just written, instead of writing a card or letter, instead of that they wrote something like, please invite him to the sports day of your school. In that case, because you were inviting a single person, he's the chief guest, you had the option of writing a formal letter because you're not inviting a large group of people. But here, even though it is just one person, but the question is asking you to make a card, then you have no option but to make a card. So clarity is given in the question. We don't have to think on our own. But even if we were given this option to think on our own and make a letter or a card, then we would have opted for a letter because it is just one person. So even when you can write a letter in formal capacity. Okay, and they have given you the name. you are Karen or Carl, I like the names, and you are the sports secretary of the school. So, quite clear, these details are given to you, and let's jump to the next slide. Okay, what kind of cards do we usually make? What are cards to begin with? You see cards all the time and we get very elaborate cards sometimes. Some cards are very simple. For CBSE purpose, it's just a one pager. Like in your regular life, you might be seeing a lot of very elaborate, colorful, fancy cards. A lot of people have just too much drama around the cards, which I understand it as their liking, but too much expense, and you know, they make it very heavy and like a 5-pager with the pictures and all. Amazing if you can do that, but here in CBSE you are not required to do that. You just have to make a 1-pager. And if you're making a formal invitation card, I would suggest that you do not use 2 pages for this one task. Please, like I said, in case of notice or a commercial advertisement, please take a fresh page and make a card. And always remember that you have to box the card. So put it in a box. Like I'm not going that side and making it, but remember that you have to use a ruler and a pen and you have to enclose it in a box. The principal, staff and students of ABC Global School. If you paid attention to the question, you must have noticed that they did not include the name of the school. They gave you a lot of details, but they did not give you some details. So the details that they are not giving, you have to cultivate those details. You have to write those details from your own side. And obviously, because it's a formal card going from the school side, so who's the most important person? The principal, the staff, and the students follow the principal's name. You write the principal, staff and students of ABC Global School. Since the name was not given, we chose to write ABC Global School or XYZ Global School. It's not given, so we will write ABC XYZ. Cordially invite Mr. Jitesh Sethi. This is the name of the chief guest, dignitary who is being invited to grace the annual sports day. This is the important day. Who's inviting, whom is being invited, and what's the occasion is very clear so far. With his, to grace the occasion with his benign presence, with his very kind presence, and give away the prizes to the budding sports persons of the school. So it's very clear why he is being invited. He is being invited as the chief guest, and also his main job would be to give certificates and prizes to the budding sports persons of the school. So usually at annual day and at sports events, people are invited to distribute certificates and prizes to students. So the purpose is very clear, and the other details are also very clear. Again, when you quite naturally you would think that it would be the school ground, it's the sports day after all. So, and the reporting time is also given. You could have chosen to give a time from 2 time, like 10 AM to 2 PM, something like that. That is totally up to you, because this detail was not given. You can use your own basic sense and write anything. And the date of the event is also given. On the left hand side of the card, if you can see, there is something written as, and all of us have so commonly seen it since childhood, on all of the greeting, on all of the wedding cards and engagement cards and all sorts of functions, everybody writes RSVP, but ask most people, they don't know what it means. All of us put a basic logic that RSVP would have the host's name and address and phone number. But because we have never been taught these things here, like in our society, mostly we don't even reply to somebody's invitation, which in many other societies of the world is called poor manners. Like if you, it naturally means that you are ill-mannered if you are not responding to the invitation. But we have this, this is our basic way of living. We have always lived like this. So if somebody is inviting us personally and we are the only person being invited, then we might reply to the invitation. But if it's a wedding card or anything, usually we don't reply. We don't regret that we won't be, able to attend, we won't accept the invitation. But think of it in context of formality. You should be replying. If you're not attending a party, please reply. Why is it significant that we reply? Why is it important that all of us should reply? Because I feel that, because we have such large weddings in India, large functions in India, so people think it's okay, and the arrangements don't get affected by me not being there or me being present there. But in a lot of societies and a lot of countries of the world, the weddings are not like our weddings, the engagements are not like our things. So you have to keep in mind that the person who's inviting you will make arrangements for as many people who are confirming their presence. Say that person, the host, has invited you to the engagement of his son and they have booked a resort. So if 50 people have been invited and you are one of them, so you have to either confirm your presence or either confirm your presence, accept it, or say that I won't be able to attend. So that person will make arrangements only for 49 people and not he would exclude you from that. In our country, we have different kind of a setup, like the approximation is very valid here, like approximately we will get food prepared for as many people, approximately adjustment and all of those things, you know what I mean. So we don't usually reply to wedding cards, but I feel as we are progressing and we are learning new things, and especially in the COVID era, we should build this habit of responding if somebody has invited us, because it's good manners. If nothing else, even if the arrangements are not being affected by our presence or absence, it is good manners to give to send a reply. Thank you for the invite, but I won't be there. Thank you for the invite, but I will certainly be there. Please mark me present for that day. So this is a French phrase that we use here. RSVP means répondez s'il vous plaît, and it means please reply. So the sender is writing here RSVP, please reply, but we don't reply because we live in India. But you always have the option of learning good manners and replying and maintaining a little bit of formality because somebody has sent you a card. Obviously that person has thought of you, has invested his time and thoughts in you, in your presence or absence, whatever is the thought. So RSVP is the name of the person who's the host or the organizer, and the designation, like if it is like a school or office, then the designation has to be there. But if you are inviting people to your sister's wedding and you are the person who's organizing everything and that people should reply to, then you don't need to write the designation. You will just write, like say your name is Akash, you write Akash and your phone number and address. Here in this case, because it is a school invitation card, so the person, Carl, or the other name was Karen, I guess. So Carl, his designation, he is the sports secretary, so he is to be contacted. Whether Mr. Jitesh Sethi is accepting it or refusing the invitation will be informed to this person called Carl, the sports secretary, and his phone number, address, email address. Usually because it is, when it is an official capacity in which you are writing, you have to give the school's address and school's phone number, or even if you have been given a number by the school, you can write that. Don't write your own number or your friend's number. Write 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. You can write any kind of number, but not your personal numbers there. Email addresses have so far not been a part of the CBSE writing, but if you can give the I don't really mind it, that if you are giving your phone number, you can also give your email address. So even though it's not mandatory, but you can do that. All right. So Jitesh Sethi has been sent a card, and Mr. Jitesh Sethi has received it in a card has been formally sent. So the relationship between the school and Mr. Jitesh Sethi is obviously formal. And if he replies to this invitation, he will reply in a formal capacity. So what happens when a person replies? In formal replies, you will have to stick to a format that's given to us by CBSE. and in that format you will have the sender's, the sender's address first. So here the sender is the sports secretary, so it is the sender's address and not just the designation, right? So who's writing it, who's the person sending it? Sender's address will include sports secretary, okay. So this will be the designation and the school's name, the name of the school here, because he is writing from on school's behalf. Okay, yeah. So no, I think there is a confusion. Yes, I'll tell you what has happened. No, this is not that part. This part is Jitesh Sethi has received the invitation, but in case you were not, you were still called, and in case you were not writing a card to Mr. Jitesh Sethi and you had the option of inviting him via letter. What if the question didn't say make a card? What if the question was invite, just invite this person? So in that option, for that particular scenario, you would write a letter. So if Carl was writing a letter to Mr. Jitesh Sethi, how would he write the letter? So he will write the sender's address here, sports secretary of this school, then there would be ABC Global School is written there, then there would be date. You know the format for date. You can either write like July 15th, 2020 or whatever, or you can write 15th July 2020. This is the more preferred format for writing the date, and then you would write the receiver's designation and address. So the receiver here, don't write the receiver's name, receiver's designation. What is the designation of Mr. Jitesh Sethi? It's given in the question. It's Chief of Staff of Pinnacle Sports Club. So the name of, just like you did for yourself, that you wrote your designation and address or the name of the organization, likewise for the receiver also you would write the name, the designation and address, okay. So you don't have to write your name or the receiver's name, you would not do that. You would just write designation and the organization. Subject is extremely important. I'll rub all of it because it might get confusing for you, okay. Now we write the subject. Subject is a one-liner and usually conveys the meaning in the minimum possible words. I have seen people write subjects which are 3 lines long or 2 lines long. It's, if you cannot convey the meaning in the easiest possible, shortest possible way, then it's not a subject. If you write a very long subject, the person always has the option of going directly to the, to the main body of the letter instead of reading the subject. So keep it crisp and short. Invitation to sports day. So if Carl was writing a letter to Mr. Jitesh Sethi in a formal capacity, instead of making a card, this would be the subject, invitation to annual sports day. Now this, the next slide from here is a continuation. I could not put all of the material on one slide, so we will move to the next slide. So we are moving on from there. After the subject, you have something called salutation, sir, ma'am. Here we have the name, so you can always write dear Mr. Jitesh Sethi, or you can write respected Mr. Jitesh Sethi, or you can simply write sir and start with your letter. So it's an option with you. You can write whatever you want. So salutation is how you are addressing the person. Then you write very simply, this is to invite your benign presence, exactly the kind of language, the formal language that you were using it in the card. You will use the same kind of language in the letter, and also just like you put the card in a box, you would make sure that your entire invitation is in a box. This is to invite your benign presence at our school's annual sports day. The principal, staff and students of the school would be grateful if you could grace the occasion and also distribute the prizes. So you have told your purpose, you have told who are you, why are you inviting, because you started with sender's address, the person already knows you as the sports secretary of the school. Then you write the purpose, why are you writing it, and you give the details as follows. I always prefer this way when you are writing a formal invitation letter. Just like you give the details like this in the card, exactly like that you can write it in the letter also. But again, it's a very optional kind of a thing for you. It's also something very subjective. Some people like to make sentences out of the venue, time and date. Like they would be writing, the function is going to be held at this time, on this date, at this place. They can write it in the form of a sentence. This is my preference when I see a formal letter or formal card, that the details of the function are as follows, because the person who's reading that letter can see exactly when he has to be, like, in the center line, the details are given. It's easier for the reader. So venue, time, date are given. For more details or queries, obviously because you are the person, Carl or Karen, you are the person organizing this entire thing, and the person who is being invited might have questions. For instance, Mr. Jitesh Sethi might want to change the time for, if he is not comfortable, he has a meeting at 10 a.m. on that day. So he can tell you that, can we please change the time? Is that possible, Carl? So Carl has to give this option to the person being invited, that for more details or queries, please feel free to contact the undersigned. Undersigned is Carl. And he write yours truly. You cannot write yours loving or your, I don't know why am I even telling you, you should use your basic sense. If you are writing to a dignitary, if you're writing in formal capacity, maintain the last part also formally. So you'll write yours truly, and you write your name, designation. Designation is already given there at the top. So even if you skip this, if you just write your name, phone number, and or email address, or phone number and email address, then it is okay. So just write your name and phone number and email address. Designation you can skip here because you've written it at the top. In some cases, in some letters, designations are like, when you're signing off, you are writing the designation as well. But it depends on what kind of format we are following. If you've given it already, then you don't need to write it again. Alright, so this is the formal invitation letter that Carl or Karen would have written if the question did not directly ask them to make a card. Some people go out of their way and make the school's logo for the invitation card. I have seen that kind of thing, that students are drawing a logo in the exam and trying to decorate the boundaries of the card. I don't know, because there's very little time in the exam. I don't suggest those things. Just make sure that you maintain enough gaps. You are not cluttering up the box completely. You are giving all the details clearly. Whatever logically seems correct to you, you do that. Right? Making a logo or a drawing or sketch or decorating the boundaries of the card are not things that I suggest, but I cannot stop you either. So if you want to make the logo of the school or write the name of the school in a different way, or darken the font slightly, like making it slightly bolder than the other font, it is okay. Use your own good sense sometimes, because not everything can be told to you. You are, you are not very small children. All right. So say this person called Mr. Jitesh Sethi has received the card or the letter, either of the two. He has already received it. What kind of format do we follow formally when we are writing a formal reply to somebody? This is the reply he would have written. Like, say he is not able to come. He cannot come because he is, say, out of station. Now, a lot of times this detail will not be given to you in the question. They will just tell you that write a reply from Mr. Jitesh Sethi's side to the school, and just cite a reason why you would not be present, or regret your absence, something like that. They would give you a vague idea about what you have to write. Then you have to, grow some basic problem, excuse why you are not able to be present. Don't write, I'm going to be very sick on that particular day, so I'm not coming, because how do you know about it in advance? So please cite something which is logical. So when you are replying, what is the format? The format is that you write the sender's address, and again like that only, like we were doing the invitation. Sender's address. So what is the sender's address? Because it is in formal capacity completely. What is the sender's address? It would be the name of the organization which he represents, the man represents. Jitesh Sethi represents. He is the chief of staff at Pinnacle Sport Club, and that appears to be an important place. So you write the designation and the name of the club, the city's name. Then you come to date and maintain some gap. Like, I don't want to guide you about every little thing, but seriously, in case you have questions like, ma'am, where to leave the lines, please use basic good sense. You would know where to, like, you know, you cannot be cramming sender's address and date together. So maintain some gap. Date, and even after date you maintain some gap, and write the subject. Now you would notice that we are not writing the other address here. We have only written the sender's address. We are not, in a reply, you are not writing the receiver's address, because obviously the receivers, you know, those details have been given to you, and that formal communication has already taken place. So when you reply, you just write sender's address, date and subject. Okay. And after that, like, and whatever your subject is, like in this case the subject is inability to attend the annual sports day. So this person, Jitesh Sethi, is not able to attend. He is writing it very clearly that I cannot come, and he writes it in third person. He cannot be writing in you know, like hello. He is not writing like hello, I won't be able to be present on that day. It's a very formal kind of a communication, and keep in mind that a lot of times these people themselves are not, like important dignitaries themselves are not replying. It is their secretary or their assistant, the writer in the office who is replying, right? So the address, the salutation is dear Carl or Karen, the name of the person. Obviously it's the sports secretary of the sports person of the school who has invited. So the letter is addressed to that person, dear so and so, or the letter could have been very well addressed to the school, you know, dear staff, their staff, or dear principal, whatever. Please use your basic logic here. Mr. Sethi is very thankful. See, he is writing, the letter is going from his side, but it's in third person. So instead of saying I am not going to be present, it's saying Mr. Sethi is very thankful for the invitation. So begin with thanking for the invitation. Is very thankful for the invitation to attend ABC Global School's annual sports day to be held on this date and this time. Now you might have questions like, but why is this person repeating all the details to the person who has invited him? No, this is how it is done because this is a formal reply. You have to, and what else? And anyways, if you don't write these details here, what else are you going to write? So you have to repeat some of the details, the basic details, and you have to also assume that you are in the exam hall writing this reply. You have not received the invitation is not in front of you and you are replying to it. You have to write all of these details because you are just writing the reply. You are not writing both invitation and reply, you are writing only the reply, or you are writing only the invitation. So you write, he won't be able to be present on this date at this time. However, he is very happy, he is very thankful that he has been invited at this date at this time. However, he is sorry to inform that he is likely to be out of station during that week. Now, the question may not have given these details to you, that why are you not able to go, why do you have an inability, but you have to cultivate some reason and cite it here. But he is out of station during that week and would not be able to be present. He regrets the inconvenience caused, if any, and wishes all students all the very best for the important day. And in the end, the person will write his name. Okay, his designation was already a part of the sender's address. So in the end, that person can write his name. Regards. You can use language like yours truly, regards, yours sincerely. Just don't write yours loving and affectionate because you are writing in a formal capacity. So keep these things in mind. In case Mr. Sethi was able to accept it, what would you do? Confirmation of presence, that would be the subject. Acceptance of the invitation, that would be the subject. I am not going to tell you exactly what you have to write. You have to use your own brains and writing skills and convey the subject properly. So if he is able to accept the invitation, he would write, Mr. Sethi is very thankful for the invitation to the annual sports day of the school at this time and on this day, going to be organized at this time and on this day at this place. And he is very happy to confirm his presence for the day. He really looks forward to the function, to the sports day, and is excited to meet all the students, would be happy to meet all the students. So whatever is the case scenario, in formal capacity, you will write formal language, you will keep it crisp, you will keep it simple and give all the details. Whether it is a reply or an invitation, you will give all the details. If you are inviting a large number of people, even if it is a wedding or engagement, it is still a formal occasion, you will make a card. If you are given the option to write a card, the instruction to write a card rather, in the question itself, then you make a card. You do not think in other directions. If they say it very clearly in the question that write a letter, you write a letter. But if they leave it up to you, then see how many people are being invited. If a large number of people are being invited, then it's a card. If it is just 1 or 2 people, then it's a letter. Okay? I hope there is no confusion about it. In the next class, we are doing informal invitations and replies. So until then, please take care. This is your teacher Ambika signing off right now.